Hi, this is Caitlin.
This is Gabry.
Welcome back to AvengeGirls and Friends.
Okay. And we're tackling the big one. Okay. Or maybe the second biggest one. We don't know yet. We'll see.
Probably
Um,
second.
but today we are here to talk about the biggest ensemble film in the Marvel Universe to date, which is obviously Avengers Infinity War.
Woohoo! I have a lot of feelings about this movie, apparently, that I didn't realize until I rewatched it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we got a lot to get through today, probably. There's one thing that I wanted to start with just because I don't think there's actually an answer to it, so it'll be fun to discuss, and also it's small enough before we move on to like tackle the big stuff. And that
Mm.
is in the beginning, the opening scene. Everyone's dying on that ship.
Oh yeah, it goes so hard so fast. Like
It
there is
does.
no gently sliding into this. It
No.
is a war movie. It says so in the title and
Yep.
it goes straight for the death.
Yep. And I just remember like in the theater, like how quiet everyone was in the theater itself. Like, because the movie starts off so quiet and it
Hmm.
doesn't have that opening Marvel theme to it. It's just like, holy shit. Like
Yeah,
it sets the stakes immediately. You know what kind of movie this is going to be from that opening montage.
right.
Um, but there's a moment in that opening scene, or for it's at the end of the scene, right before um, Thanos kills Loki, I believe, is when he stabs Heimdall, or Heimdall maybe has a little bit left of power or whatever, and I can't remember
Right.
the sequence if he is stabbed first or what, but he uses like the last of his power to send Hulk to Earth directly to the Sanctum, which is interesting.
Oh, yes. That's
Um,
true.
yes, and I was wondering, like, is Heimdall kind of like similar to Doctor Strange because he can kind of like see everything, right? Like, does he somehow see the future and that he knows that Hulk or Bruce, I guess, needs to get to the
Okay.
Sanctum? Like, did he know that Thor going there wouldn't have the same effect? Um, I don't know because I think
Yeah,
it's
and
it's
we'll never get an answer either.
no, because Heimdall's fucking dead.
Yup.
Like for real dead.
I feel like
Uh,
he must have known something. He must have had he like at like you said, as Stephen Strange is keeping an eye on the larger universe, Heimdall's probably keeping an eye on he's watching the Watchers, you know.
that's true. Yeah,
So
he's the protector of the Watch.
he probably knows that that's a good place to send someone. Why he sent the Hulk, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
Um, because that, I mean, maybe this is just me reading into things, but like I think it's very important that Bruce is the one who gets down there because, like, imagine if like Thor had been down, like you switch Thor and Bruce, like Thor is not going to have the tact or like emotional capability to be like, hey Tony, like this is serious. We all got to get together and do
oh,
this shit.
Heimdall
You know what I mean?
probably knows that Tony and Bruce have that connection. That Tony will
Probably,
probably
yeah,
listen to Bruce. That
yeah,
that's
right.
probably
That
at least
that
part of
makes
it.
sense. Yeah, and that I think that's like almost most of it, really, if not all. Like Bruce has the like I don't know, like the what's the word? The je ne sais quoi comes to mind, but that's not quite the word that I'm looking for. But like he has that vibe about him that like
No,
you
I
know
feel like je
he's
ne
telling
sais
the truth.
quoi actually works
Okay, so
because it
Bruce
means
has
I
the
don't know what. It's like an ephemeral quality. So that is actually
okay,
perfect.
perfect.
So
So he has a certain
you can only do idioms in French apparently.
I only get idioms right in French. This is a new thing for me. I guess I gotta learn French. Bruce has a certain je ne sais quoi about him in that like people look at him and like they believe him right away. They trust him. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like even when he goes and assumingly he like he calls Steve and is like, "Hey Steve, we got a problem," and Steve immediately goes into action. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
he
he's
Rhodey
the
is
calm
there.
and reasonable one,
Hmm.
especially in this movie.
Yes, yeah. I also love that we get a lot of Bruce in this movie, as opposed to like, I don't know, like he's just there to be the Hulk, you know what I mean? Um,
Right.
it's kind of a continuation, a little bit of the arc that started, I think, in Ragnarok. Um,
Right.
and that
And
he's struggling with Hulk, you know?
right. And I also think it's interesting that in this movie, Hulk and Bruce actually communicate.
Yes, that's so interesting.
Before Ragnarok, they had no relationship. Like Bruce was just terrified of becoming the Hulk. They just shared headspace and that was it. But now they like actually talk to each other, and I think Bruce is trying to understand the Hulk.
I think so too. Yeah.
So I think that's cool. I would be interested in seeing more of that.
Yeah. And I know I wish I like could cite my sources better, but there's an interview out there. Should try to find it where it what's his name? Mark Ruffalo. I was gonna say Bruce. That's not his name. Mark Ruffalo talks about how like he did want to try to set up like a 3 movie arc almost for Bruce. And then
Oh,
in
okay.
theory, it does culminate in Endgame. In what
Okay.
way? Who knows? But the producers were like, "Hey, what would you do if you could like have an arc for you two, like Bruce and Hulk?" And he was like, "I would do this." And they're like, "Cool, let's do it."
Oh,
So that
sweet.
yeah, so that's why like Bruce does have like almost a mini character arc in this. Um,
Oh, that's
like
great.
I think in most movies like he wouldn't have that, but yay, yay, people listening to Mark Ruffalo giving Bruce the arc he
Do that
deserves.
more.
Yeah. Um, do we need to talk about Loki? I feel like
Do we need to talk about Loki? We love him,
we love him, yes.
and
Do we
do
think
we?
he's dead? Yeah, do we? Or do you, I guess?
Uh, I I don't know.
I don't know either. It's a
I
trick
guess I
question.
just kind of accepted that he died. I haven't seen anything to prove otherwise. I don't think I've even read any theories about how he could have survived. That
Uh,
doesn't mean that they're not
yeah.
out there, but I haven't personally seen anything. Um, Not even just that would convince me. I just haven't seen anything. Um,
Yeah. I think this isn't like, well, I'm not sure if this is just something like I noticed and was annoyed about, or if I read it somewhere and put two and two together, you know what I mean? Um, this is probably something I read back when Infinity War came out, so it's been a year. But it's suspicious that, like he says, we have a Hulk. He's gone for a good while. Like almost everyone else on the ship either leaves or dies, except and then it's just
mhm.
like Thor, and then he like shows up again. Like, what was he doing that entire time? Like,
Oh, true.
you know what I mean? Like, he's like,
Right.
think of a plan.
That's definitely, if he was gonna set something up, I don't know what it would have been.
Exactly, no
It
clue.
would have
But
been then.
yes, yeah. That's not to say that he actually did anything,
Right. He may
because
not have. He might
you know
actually
how
be dead.
writing works sometimes. Sometimes you just need a character to come back.
Right.
So he could just be, yeah, like you said, he did. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we just need to mention him though because it's important to like Thor's arc in this movie. I would argue, right?
Dead until proven alive.
Yes. Seal of approval, a little stamp there. Um, oh, okay, wait. There's this line um in when does this happen? It's somewhere during the scene where like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Wong, Tony, and Bruce is like there trying to help out. They're all like fighting amongst all of New York, basically, right?
Right, right.
And Tony's like, or Spider-Man's like, what's going on? And Tony goes, he's from space. He came here to steal a necklace from a wizard. And that one line is like, that's what I want the future of the MCU to be like. You know what I mean? That like kind of like ridiculous, almost like this is happening,
Bonkers. Just
but
like,
it
this is
makes
it. Accept it.
exactly. It's fucking weird, but it makes perfect sense, like in context. But like you can joke about it and it's amazing and like so surreal and very comic-y, like that's just something that
Yeah.
would come straight out of the comics. um and I don't know if they'll go that way after the Infinity Saga, but I hope they do. since they have so many superheroes to work with and pull from now. It would just be so much more fun, you know? I don't know.
Right. No,
I
one
love
thing I've
that line.
always and I can't remember if I've said this before. It's definitely possible, but one thing I've always appreciated about the MCU movies is that they're for the most part they're very funny.
Yes.
Um some of them are funnier than others just based on the characters within them, but
Yeah.
in general, they don't even the no, that's not actually true. I was gonna say even the serious ones don't take themselves too seriously, but that's not exactly accurate because
Thor
Winter
Dark World.
Soldier is pretty serious.
Oh yeah,
But
that's
it still has its moments though. So I don't know. I just think, but you're right. This kind of explanation of an event totally works.
it's just yeah, it's like I don't know. It's
It's just
perfect.
silly, but
It's
perfect.
yeah, it's just silly, like you said. Yeah. Um, it very much sums up what I hope the future of the MCU is.
Hmm.
Um, and
Definitely.
let me see.
Oh, can we talk about one thing?
Yes.
Just
No, we're not allowed.
it's so petty. Um but there's just Pepper at the beginning of this
Ugh.
movie. I'm sorry. The way she delivers that line, tell me you're not on that ship. Oh God, no. Like there's no emotion behind it at all. She just doesn't even care anymore.
I
I'm like, why did they let something with like that level of no inflection of emotion in
yeah.
the movie? Why did you let that in there?
She
Like,
just sounds tired, you know? Like
yeah.
Tony. Also, I hate that just because I mean, every scene she's in this movie, once again, is me being like, I hate pepperoni.
Yeah.
like she still doesn't get that Tony is doing this to protect not only her, but the rest of the world, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
feel like, yeah, at a certain point, I
why
just
is she still don't get it?
it started to bother me. Not you're allowed to be selfish about the people you love to a certain degree, I think.
I
You
think
know,
so.
like you don't want them to sacrifice themselves, but at some point, like when there are fucking aliens coming down every other week and a giant
Exactly.
purple guy who looks like a raisin is trying to, take over the universe, like sorry, he's going to do that thing and you should support that because he's actually capable of it.
Exactly. Like,
Sorry. Like
does
it does
she
suck. Would I be upset if I was in her position? Absolutely. But honestly, I like to think that I'd be like, yeah, you gotta.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, I would be upset too, I guess, but it would be like more, it wouldn't be, well, upset I think is the wrong word. I would be scared for my
Yeah,
loved
yeah.
one, but I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Like, there's fucking aliens who are killing people, you know what I mean? Like, go help us. Like, at least you have the capability
Yeah, like
to
I have
do
no
something.
skills. You
Yeah.
you do. You go do that. Yeah, I
So
don't know.
that's just
It bothers
frustrating
me.
that, yeah, no, I am 100% with you. It's annoying as fuck that after, you know, what is it? How many years? Wow.
10.
20? 10? 20? Yeah, after 10 whole years,
I don't know if 10
still.
years have passed in universe, but
Well, apparently it's supposed to keep kind of, well, I don't
current.
know. In theory, I don't know if they've like retconned that, but for a while it was like whatever year the movie came out in, that
That
was
was the
like,
year. Okay.
yeah. Except for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
Uh, well, also in
Got
the
it.
period pieces,
Yeah.
but still, it's been a long time. Like Tony's been Iron Man for a long time. He's gone through a lot. He hasn't changed, and well, I mean, he has changed for the good, in my opinion. Um, but like at his core, this is who he is. Very frustrating to me.
Yeah, and I think at this point asking him to change that is unreasonable. He's
100%
not going to.
like, and this is more talking obviously about Endgame, but I really like I obviously I want Tony to live. I don't at this point I don't think they're gonna kill him off. If they kill him off, I'll be incredibly surprised. Um, but I don't. I've said in the past that I like, oh, I just let him retire and be happy and peaceful. But I want him to retire in a way where he's still helping. You know what I mean? Like training
Right.
recruits or something, or if they
Yeah.
need to like go out, like be on reserve or something. But I don't think he
Yeah.
could actually give it up.
No.
It's like Steve. Both of them are the same. It's in their blood at this point. Like they're always going to be fighting.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. Now I'm sad. I've made myself sad.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. Well, then what can we talk about that's not quite as sad?
Good point. Well, I was gonna say, oh, well, my next note isn't as sad, but it actually kind of is if we think about it. But so when Peter goes up, he's being beamed up, you know,
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
station, and he's like, "Help me, Tony! I'm being beamed up or whatever." Tony tells him to hang tight, and then he tells Friday to unlock 17A, and you see a bunch of different like drawers or electronic
compartments. Yeah.
compartments, yeah. And one of them unlocks and out flies the Iron Spider suit. And I was like, and then I like paused it because I was like, holy shit! So there's at least 17. No, double that if there's like more than one letter. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but at the very least, I guess 17 different suits that he has. What like is it just for like
Is
himself
it just
here,
is it just for him and Spider-Man? Yeah.
or is it like is Pepper's rescue in one of those? Does Rhodey have another one? Did he make one for all the Avengers? There's a lot. Like if when you pause the screen there it looks like a 25 plus A and B. So that's
Mm,
50 different suits for people who that is in theory maybe not just himself. Like,
yeah.
holy shit. Did he like what is he even doing? When did he do those?
Probably when he's avoiding Pepper and her annoyingness.
Damn.
I'm just saying.
You're not wrong.
I
Um,
hate that stereotype, but and like I want to support women, but also she's really annoying.
well, I mean, that's just a product of her writing, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. There's really no way around that. You're
it's
right.
like you can like a character all you want, but at the end of the day, half of it is going to be like your fan and interpretation of that
That's
character.
true.
Like, I love Pepper and like fanfic. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, she's way better
She's
in fanfic.
great. But then you actually look at her in the movies, and I think I'm trying to think of where I liked her best, and it might be Iron Man 2, which is
Yeah, I
weird.
think we talked about that. It was in her
Yeah.
scenes with Natasha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big gay. Just kidding. Well, maybe I'm kidding. Who knows?
You're
Um, but yeah, it's when she gets the chance to interact with another woman,
not.
which I think says a lot about the writing in general. But
Yeah.
whatever. We've talked about those movies. Um, you know our opinions.
You know where to find them.
Exactly.
Tony Stark voice.
Um, okay. Is there anything else in this part of the movie that you wanted to talk about? Because all of
In
my
the
stuff after
beginning of
this
the
is
movie.
like,
Towards
yeah,
the
in the
beginning.
beginning of the movie.
Okay. Two things. One is I'm trying to remember when it switches over
To like
to
serious shit or
yeah, so we might have already approached where the majority of my notes start. So I think we're okay
perfect.
to keep going.
Okay, cool. Well, let's start with one of yours because I feel like a lot of mine are like I'll just say them now. One of them is about the we don't trade lives things, and I have a lot to say about that.
Okay.
The other is about the soul stone and how that works.
Okay. I
Which
I
I also
also
have a lot
have a
about that.
small thing about the soul stone.
Let's go with soul stone then. Let's do that. Let's tackle that
Okay.
bitch.
But I also really quick I want to tell you the other things I'm most interested in maybe.
Go for it.
Is just Thanos's idea of balance,
Which is wrong.
which is fucked up.
Yeah.
And when Thor says I'm only alive because fate wants me alive. I don't know. I just thought that was an
Yeah.
interesting thing for him to say. So,
Yes. Oh God, I don't know which to start with. Let's go with Thor because you ended with that. We'll
okay.
work back around to balance and stupid Thanos. Um,
Yes.
no, yeah, I agree. Thor, I'm only alive because fate wants me alive. And I think that's not something like I don't know, that's not a part of Thor's character that we've ever really seen before. Like he believes in this concept
Hmm.
of fate. I always I don't know, interpreted Thor's character as a breaker of fate, if you will. Breaking of those chains.
Mm-hmm.
So but I love that line still. So it doesn't make me mad that he he says it.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
it's just not what I would have expected from him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I just thought it was interesting because there's not, even though there are these cosmic forces in the MCU, and there are a lot more we haven't seen yet that I hope we're gonna see, which I think we can probably talk about towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Um, I you don't see much of that come into play, it feels like.
Mm.
So like, like in Star Wars, there's a very clear sense of fate, and destiny and all that really great stuff. And
Yeah.
so the real question is, like, we've never seen anything like that so explicitly before. And like when he says because fate wants him alive, is there some kind of predetermined thing that's being enacted here, or is it
Um,
just personal, or
this is just my interpretation of it. I
I
feel like
also had a
it's
better thought, but I lost it like
oh
halfway through
no.
speaking, so it's not good. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. If you think of it, shout. Well, don't actually shout. My ears would
No,
hurt, but
it would be
say
them.
something. But my interpretation of that line is more like I think he's saying it to console himself in the moment. Um, I don't know if he actually believes it, but like everything has gone so shittily for him
Oh, well, yeah.
uh, that he needs something to kind of cling on to. And I think I forget exactly what Rocket says, but he kind of like echoes the disbelief portion of this. Like, is that real? Like, really? You actually believe that? So that's just from my interpretation of Thor as a character. But then from like I guess like I don't know, logical standpoint, um, just knowing of the existence of like the time stone and how Doctor Strange looked through, 14 million possibilities, I think fate as a concept can't really exist in a universe wherein multiple different timelines can exist. I don't know how else to describe that or explain it rather.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it does, but just not quite in the way that we understand it
Yeah.
currently.
Or like to use your like your Starbucks to use your
Well,
Starbucks example. To use your Star Wars example, like Star Wars is a universe where like this happens and like you said, like the force and fate it infuses everything that happens. It does will certain things to happen. Anakin, chosen one, prophecy, all that jazz. And it's the only timeline that we at least know of to exist. I know
right.
kind
There
of
are
get
glimpses,
weird.
but yeah.
Yes. Um, but in theory, that's the only thing we know. But with this Endgame and Infinity War, we're starting to get into like the time travel territory and
Hmm.
parallel timelines and universes. And whenever that happens, it's like, in my opinion, if fate and determinism just becomes like non-existent. Like it
Yeah.
can't work in systems where time travel exists. But that's just my
That's
opinion.
no, that does make perfect sense. You're
Yeah.
you're you're right.
Unless it's a looped time travel. Harry Potter not.
Unless
Because
it's
Harry
what?
Potter, like a loop, like time, how there's different
Oh, okay.
of
Oh,
time
yeah,
travel?
in Azkaban?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
time
yeah.
travel can
Okay.
work in Harry Potter. We're ignoring Cursed Child
That doesn't
because
exist. I don't know
doesn't
what you're talking
exist.
about.
So time travel works in Harry Potter because it's a closed loop where everything that happens in when you time travel already it happened, actually when you first experience that time. That's a
Right.
bad way of describing the time travel. But then the other version of time travel is if you go back and change a little thing that ripples out into multiple different timelines. That is
Right,
not how
right.
Harry Potter works. Um, and it couldn't work that way in order for the prophecy to work with Harry. But we're
Right.
not talking about Harry Potter.
Right.
That's just an example of how
But I was gonna
time.
say, yeah, sometimes we
Yeah.
just gotta bring in the examples.
Sometimes we just gotta talk about time travel because I love it.
That too.
Sorry, everyone. I could go on forever about time travel, so I'm gonna shut up and let Gabby talk about balance and Thanos.
That's a mistake. So yeah, Thanos has that one line. I think I only wrote down part of it, but it should be mostly verbatim. He, he's talking about how his goal is, quote, to bring balance to the universe by wiping out half of all life. And I was like, listen, that's your idea of balance?
You're like, bitch.
No. Uh, so I talked with my boyfriend about Thanos's idea of balance on the phone like a week ago, maybe, and I couldn't even find the words to articulate my thoughts about this. I don't understand it literally in what universe, in what mindset killing half of all living creatures in the universe is bringing balance. Balance is one thing. What he says he wants to accomplish is another, because
Yes.
his goal was to do this because there were so many people that it was putting a strain on the universe's resources, you
Which
know?
is bullshit.
Which A is bullshit. B, like, okay, well, that's not balance. That's population control.
Yeah.
I need you to get your story straight.
Yeah.
But also, not only does he have a warped idea of balance, I think we also need to talk about the fact that he's going after all this power in order to achieve his goals, and not once does he stop to consider that, like, okay, if I have all these things where like I can literally control reality and time and like basically everything, have all that power at my hand, and he doesn't choose to use it to create or provide more resources instead.
Yep.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
You right.
I'm
God
like,
damn.
I don't have any other argument except that like he's evil. Like,
He's an
I mean,
evil dumbass at that. You know what I mean?
he's an evil dumbass who never even stopped to consider, like, oh my god, he could have been like, he could have been like so praised, so admired, like he could have, solved all of the universe's problems,
Yeah. And
but
I
he decided to kill it instead.
and I think that's interesting because there's when you said that like he could have created, he could have had all this power and be praised. It immediately brought to my mind like gods, right? Like
Yeah,
gods create and
he could have been a god,
are worshipped, and that
a positive
echoes, yeah,
one.
that echoes like Loki's line, like you will never be a god, which is
Yeah,
so interesting because it's true. Like gods don't do what he did. He has the power in theory of a god, but he doesn't use it the way, again, in theory, a supposed god should use that power. You know what I mean? He completely does the opposite thing, like you said. He could
right. I guess
create, he could make it so easy for everyone.
right. And I guess that's why they call him the Mad Titan, because it's
Yeah.
a completely illogical idea
Yep.
in
True.
comparison to this answer that's just right there. I
It's
don't
like
know.
he was so like warped by what happened to him on Titan, on his home planet, that he can't see past this like one idea he got in his mind. He has these horse blinders on. Um, he's like, this is the only way
Yeah,
to help everyone.
he's convinced that is the only way they could have solved their problem.
Yeah. Like otherwise, like he could have just like, asked someone for their opinions and maybe like talked this out, and he would have been like, oh, I see. Let's still get the Infinity Stones, but like instead he surrounds himself with like these, zealots basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like who will do whatever he says and literally do almost worship him. They're called the children of Thanos, but I don't know. They're not
That is a very
children.
culty thing.
It's a cult thing, right? Like
Seems
you
very
are my god.
culty.
Especially the way, I forget what is Squidward. I forget what his name is. But the way in the
Oh,
beginning
yeah. I was
he
like, what
drones
does Squidward
on
have
and
to do with this?
on.
You're
So
right.
the evil alien Squidward. But he drones on and on, and it's very much like a sermon almost.
Yeah, it
Not that
is. You're
I'm
right.
not religious, so I don't actually know what sermons 100% sound like, but that is what I imagine a sermon would sound like, the general vibe. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of that, but I think it's interesting that all of that there's a lot of religious imagery, or connotations rather, I guess, in this. Not so
Hmm.
much imagery. Um,
Yeah, I don't, if I've missed something, it has been right under my nose the entire time and I didn't see it, which is really embarrassing. But I haven't really noticed any religious imagery that I can recognize, I should say.
Yeah.
Because I'm more familiar with, like Western religions
Yeah.
than anything else. So if you have noticed anything in Infinity War pertaining to Thanos that could be viewed as religious and you're listening to this, please tell me about it because I would love to hear it.
Yeah. Gabry, you just for the people out there, your background in religion is what?
My background in religion is a really long time at Catholic schools and a minor in religious studies.
There it is. I just wanted people to know that you actually like study this shit.
I especially like it in relation to popular culture.
Yeah, yeah, it's very
Because that is what the majority of my classes were on, and I did that on purpose.
which is smart. No one is probably wondering, but I'm the exact opposite. I did not grow up going to church or anything, and I learned all of my religion through popular culture, like Jesus Christ Superstar and the Prince of Egypt. So,
This is why
so
it's
there's
so
that.
interesting.
Yeah, this is why we work well together. Just kidding, that's not the only reason. Um, I was
No.
gonna say though, is Gamora, if Thanos is a god figure, if is Gamora and her death like a Jesus figure?
Oh, I want to say no. Um, I want to say no. Because even though, so like Jesus, like right before his crucifixion, he was in this garden talking to his dad,
Yeah,
also like his other third of himself, and
I know that from
um,
Jesus Christ
okay,
Superstar.
you're
It's
right.
a really good song. Go on.
But so while he's there, he's like, I really don't want to die. I don't want to do this, but like if I have to, I will. And he
Oh,
ends up
so
doing it
he can't.
willingly.
Right. Okay. So Gamora
So
would never be that because she doesn't choose it.
Gamora Gamora did not choose it. She had it forced on her, and it's not even, it could be considered like kind of like an inversion of that, maybe to a degree, because you know Jesus died to like save us. I should not, I should clarify here that like I support you believing whatever you believe, unless it's that you should kill people for disagreeing with you.
Yes.
Um, and I don't necessarily believe this. I'm pretty agnostic, but I'm just repeating what they told us in school. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, my point is
What
that
you've learned. What the books
Jesus
say.
died to prevent, everyone from going to hell, basically, to clear of us, clear all of humanity of their sins. Um, and Thanos is killing Gamora not to clear humanity of their sins, but to help destroy half the
Yeah.
universe.
I was gonna say it's
It's not
actually
to it's not to preserve life, it's in order to destroy it. So it's kind of an inversion of it actually.
yeah, it's
I think
almost
you
the
could make
exact
that argument.
opposite. Like
Yeah.
I think that's true because like you said, like or maybe I said it, that Thanos is like the anti-god basically, right? He's using it in the wrong way. And that culminates in him forcibly making his daughter perform the sacrifice of the anti-Jesus figure almost. And then him using that power that he gains from that sacrifice not to help everyone, but to kill everyone.
Right.
That
Oh,
is, yeah, that's
speaking of
really,
which,
yes.
tangentially related,
Okay.
more in terms of myth than it is in terms of religion, I guess.
Mhm.
But so Thanos is from a planet called Titan.
Yes, yeah.
And the Titans are, as Greek mythological figures.
Fathers of the
Um,
gods, or
yeah, the
parents of the
fathers of the
gods.
gods. So they're a step above like the level of god that like, like Loki and Thor would be basically.
Yeah. Or
Um,
Zeus and, them, if we're talking like Zeus and Hera, Greek, right? Or
right,
Titans
yeah.
gone.
But I also his name, I just wanted to see really quick
Doesn't
if
Thanos mean death or something?
well, it's Thanatos.
Right, right. God of death.
It's Thanatos, and I was just trying to see if Thanatos is considered a Titan or not, and it doesn't look like it. But
Thought he was a god, but I could be wrong.
no, he is a god. I'm just
Okay.
very interested.
But see, even that is interesting, that his name stems from a god. There's a lot of this mythological and religious like connotations everywhere, which is very
Which
it's
I
intriguing.
am I missing all of this analysis on the internet, or are people just not doing it?
People are just not doing it because I've also not seen it anywhere. Um and I don't know, like I said for I think I was talking about the Spider-Man, the 17A. Like I've done some searches before, like I write the notes and some of the things where I was like, oh, I didn't notice that before. I'll go and try to
Yeah.
like search and try to find,
And
literature on it basically, but there's nothing there.
hey,
So that's what we're here
analysis
for, I
of
guess.
Infinity War and Marvel in a mythological context. If you're up there, call me.
I think it's on us now, and we're not going to be able to get to this for a long time, but I feel like I want to write something like
Yeah,
this now.
definitely.
Anyways, but
Anyway, but yes,
talking
so
talking
Thanos.
about yeah,
No, go ahead.
Thanos. I was gonna say, are you done talking about Thanos? Because I was gonna go right into the Soul Stone
Oh,
since we were talking about
sorry. No, I
Thanos'
had one more
Gamora.
thing.
Go for
So,
it.
just so it was my John Mulaney quote. Um, what was the time Thanos ignored his destiny? Your story doesn't have a lot of details. And so I actually ended up looking that up, and someone said it was when they didn't follow through with his plan on Titan. And I'm like, that's too
That
easy.
can't be it, because he didn't ignore his destiny. He
He
tried. He
he
fought
wanted to
for it.
do it. I was like,
Yeah.
someone said that. I was like, that can't actually be right because he still
Ugh.
actually tried.
This is
So
why the MCU needs a story group to
call
keep
us.
to yeah call us and explain this shit, and
We're
we'll
really
keep it
good at
all.
continuity.
Yeah, we'll keep it all. Do you know how much lore we all have in our head? I mean, like we all, as in me and Gabby, like collectively, not just MCU. I'm just talking about. You can ask us
plus
random shit, and we will give you answers about
plus
random
reach
stuff.
plus research skills. Plus I could
True.
like
That is my literal job.
yeah, let us do it. Um but yeah, I want to know what that was because I don't feel like that was it.
And I don't even
What
have
does he
a
could
guess.
yeah. But on the other hand, if destroying all life in half the universe isn't his destiny, then what is? So maybe it is.
True. I mean, and then we're talking about, fate and destiny again.
I know, I
Um,
told you.
Interesting. Um,
This is something I plan to bring up at the end when we talk about what happens after Endgame. So
it'll
I'll
be
get to
good.
it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what was I gonna say exactly, actually? Destiny, blah, 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 blah. Shit. I had the same thing happen to me where it was something I wrote. Hold on, let me see if I.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's
no,
finish.
it made me, I just remembered. This is like almost a reach, but the Thanos ignoring his destiny and how we're talking about fate with, Thor and just
Mhm.
Thor really before. Um, it made me think of one of the other big things I want to talk about. I know I previously just like, a minute ago was like, let's go on to the Soul Stone because we were just kind of talking about it. But this made me think of the whole we don't trade lives that comes up
Ooh, right.
very
Yeah.
often. Um, it's said like multiple times in the movie, and I feel like it hasn't actually come full circle yet. It's almost like it's like Chekhov's gun. It's Chekhov's concept that hasn't gone off yet. like, um,
So
we
in the
don't
next
trade.
movie it has to.
It has to, yeah. We don't trade lives. Like, I guess this actually does kind of tie into the Soul Stone. So I'm just gonna go on a little rant if
You're
you
right,
don't
it
mind.
does.
So we don't trade lives. Thanos's love for Gamora, in theory, apparently counts as this thing that he loves that gets him the Soul Stone. He sacrifices Gamora, he gets the Soul Stone. But why? Like, what? I'm just gonna read exactly what I wrote actually, because I
Yeah,
think it
no,
sums it up.
I think you put it
Like,
pretty well.
why does he get to get that? Like, why do genocidal maniacs get to have the soul stone basically for free? Like, that's not his sacrifice was not actually a sacrifice. His love for Gamora could not possibly equate to the love that Peter has for Gamora, or the love that,
It was
you know,
not
like,
as a person, it was as a possession.
yes, that's exactly it. Whereas on the other hand, like, let's say Steve or Tony wanted to get the soul stone, which they might have to in Endgame. They actually have to give up someone they actually love. And in
Yeah.
theory, like, to get the soul stone, they would have to, let's say it's Tony, right? To get the soul stone, he would have to give up Pepper. He would,
Hmm.
like, when would he ever make that decision? Like, he would never do that. So why, like, in what universe is that fair? That the soul stone for some reason is like, yeah, okay, I'll accept this fake ass love that you have for
It's
your supposed daughter.
it's not, unless
Mm-hmm.
it has to happen in order for them to get to whatever actually needs to happen in Endgame.
True, which I think it does,
Which
because
must be it, but
but and then it goes into, like, I guess the soul stone, people were talking about the souls being sentient. How sentient is the soul stone? Did
mhm.
it decide to accept that sacrifice only because it wanted to, get closer to the other stones, and then know that it would eventually have, like, how much does the soul stone know? Like, they're banking on so much, and I don't know, like,
Mhm.
if it could all come together neatly, like, I would be so for these sentient stones and,
Oh yeah,
all
no, I
these
think that would be
rules.
amazing.
But even with 3 hours in Endgame, I don't believe that they're actually going to be able to, like, tie any of that in. I don't believe that. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think at
think so.
most they might like drop
Hints,
hints,
maybe. Is
but I
that good
don't think they'll
writing?
have
I don't
time
know.
to do it explicitly.
Yeah.
Also, I think I agree with everything you said, except that I think the important part is that Thanos believes he loves her.
True. Yeah.
And I think it doesn't matter if it's true or not, it matters the
What he
perception.
believes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that in itself is pretty fucked up. Um, like, he believes that he loves Gamora, and maybe he does, you know what I mean, in his own fucked up way.
Hmm.
But because he's willing to kill someone in order to get his way, like, he's the one who gets to use the soul stone. If the soul stone is sentient and it isn't a part of this long game plan, basically,
Yeah.
how is that? That's not good. These sentient stones are not good people, you know what I mean? Or not
Well, I
people, you know what
mean,
I mean?
I don't like doing this, but I'm also into the whole cosmic impartiality thing.
Ugh.
For like playing the long con, you know. But maybe it oh no, I lost it while I was explaining why I liked it. Shit. Something about how well they never said that they were good or bad. They're just embodiments of concepts which
True.
don't have senses of morality. So like yeah, it sucks, but also can you expect something that's literally been around since the beginning of time to have the same sense of morality as we do? I don't think so.
True. That is very true.
But yeah, but in context of like a
But I don't,
movie, it
yeah.
sucks.
Like, I feel like this is I'm going to go back to Star Wars for a sec, right?
Well, yeah,
Clearly.
this is perfect.
We were just at Star Wars Celebration, so it's fresh on our minds, everyone.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Um, so Star Wars and Star Wars has similar concepts, I would argue. The Force is this living thing, right?
Mm,
Um, well, and living in quotes.
yeah.
But in Star Wars, they have this massive, universe in order to explore that. So we're going to have 9 feature films, not including, like, Solo and Rogue One, right? And then we have
Hmm.
3 now TV series, correct?
Yeah,
Um,
3 animated TV series.
yeah.
Um,
Plus, we're going to have The Mandalorian live action. We have a bunch of really well-written tie-in novels, I would call them,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
I think so. Yeah, there was
Or
Legend.
companion
There's
novels.
something called Legends now, which is the former expanded universe, and then there's the Disney canon novels, which is
Yeah,
everything after, which is the official novelizations, and then everything that was written after Disney acquired Lucasfilm.
yeah. Star Wars has this very expansive universe in which it can look at, the Force and this living thing and, midichlorians or whatever, what have you, and how all these, things that aren't really tangible, how they interact with living, breathing aliens, people, whatever, versus the MCU, which does not have that expansiveness or the capability to look deeply at this. And I think it's, in my opinion, bad writing if to ride like basically to ride on the soul stones being sentient at this point. If they hint at it in Endgame, cool, but I'm gonna expect them to like go into that in more detail later on,
Or to follow up on it,
or
yeah.
to follow up on it, and I'm gonna be kind of pissed because you can't spend, I know it's called the Infinity Saga, right? And there are Infinity Stones, and they're in almost all the movies, but you can't spend all of those movies not dropping hints about this, and then suddenly are like, here you go, it was this all along, and have to retcon everything.
Story group.
I know, that's what I'm saying. MCU needs a story group because it would make this so much easier, and they wouldn't have to retcon half the shit that they tend to retcon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I personally will be pissed off if basically anything of what we're saying about the Soul Stone and all the other stones ends up being true. I know there's a theory out
A
there
rare
that
occasion for you, because usually you want
I
it to be
know,
true.
I
But you're
know.
like, listen, this is the
It's
one thing
just
I don't want.
it's just bad writing, and I know they'll just get away with it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Like, where other people would be held accountable, and nah, it's
And would be torn
frustrating.
apart. We will tear you apart, Marvel, just so
Yeah,
you know. But it's because we love you.
yeah, it's true. It's true. I wouldn't
We
be.
hold you
I
to a
wouldn't
higher degree.
complain.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad but true. John Mulaney voice. Um, I was also going to mention briefly. I don't want to get into it too much because I know we've been talking for a while already, and we have other stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah.
I didn't even go into the "we don't trade lives" thing. I have a whole evidence list for that. But one little aside before we go on is that there was a theory I read recently about how I think your brother actually was the one who showed it to us. How the Mind Stone is the real villain of the MCU. You
Yes.
remember that?
Oh my
Which
gosh, that
is
was
it's a
so
very
good.
interesting case, and we will link it on our Twitter and Facebook, I assume,
Yes,
after
absolutely.
this comes out. It's very interesting, and again, it will make me pissed off if it's true, but it's very well
It's
written.
fascinating, but I'm also
Yes,
like, yeah,
I hate it.
I would like it to be hinted at more, but I'm also super behind it because
Yeah,
it's so well thought out.
yeah.
And you know what? Marvel, hire that person because like,
Yeah. Put all of us in your story group. There's
yeah,
so many people who could do so well in this theoretical story group. You don't have to be afraid or embarrassed of copying Lucasfilm now because you own them. So like,
yeah.
just do it.
Ooh, true. Yeah.
Just it's fine. Um, anyways, trading lives. I wanted to just dip back to that for a hot second, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I think that's definitely important. We should
Okay.
talk about it.
Because I got again sidetracked by the Soul Stone and being angry at Thanos. Um, so Thanos won by trading lives, right? He traded Gamora's lives. He basically traded the lives of all of his so-called children. Um, he's constantly killing people. His whole thing is trading lives for the good of
Mm-hmm.
other lives. And that means, in theory, that trading lives is bad. You should not trade lives
Right.
because
That's what
that
he
is
as the
evil.
villain does.
Exactly. Um, and technically, Wanda destroying the Mind Stone is also trading lives, right? Like she's kind of forced into doing that, and they
That was
still lose,
interesting, which I
right?
didn't consider, but yes.
And even after that, they still lose. So, overall, trading lives equals bad equals losing, etc. So clearly, in my opinion, if they don't do this, I'll be upset. They have to do the exact opposite in order to win. Um, they can't trade lives because it's evil. they have to figure out a way of beating, the so-called system and not trading lives and saving all
Right.
the lives. Um, like Cap says, like Steve says, like, we don't trade lives. That's not who we are. He doesn't say that
Mhm.
exactly. um, and I expect to see that kind of come full circle eventually in Endgame. Um, Now that they have, the original team back together, in theory, some quantum time travel shit's gonna go down. Um, they have to do this in a way that that makes that come back into focus. And this is getting into possible spoilery territory for Endgame. It's just a
Mhm.
theory that I have, so I'm not claiming that this is actually like true. But I'm giving this strong warning only because, and I'll eat my words eventually if it's not true, but I firmly believe at this point, and here's this possible spoiler, that they're gonna kill Thanos in the first 15 minutes of the movie ish.
This is your official prediction.
This is my official prediction, laying it all
Okay.
down on the line. And I believe that for a number of reasons. One, just logically speaking, like, what they show in the trailers usually happens. They're not going to give us more than what happens in the first 15 minutes because we can kind of take too much from that. And
Mhm.
they've shown all the way up until, the big three stand in front of Thanos, right? That happens. But besides logically speaking, and how people do marketing, um, I think that with there's supposed to be that time jump, right? Like Nat's hair grows out longer.
Mhm.
There's those posters that are like, what do we do? They've been gone for so long, etc. There's some kind of, people are thinking like it's 5-year time jump. I think what's going to happen is they're going to team up. They're going to go kill Thanos. Captain Marvel's on their side. I think it'll be pretty easy. No offense to everyone
Mhm.
else, but they kill Thanos. They couldn't save the world in the universe, so they avenge her. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a callback
With
to
the
that.
original Avenger,
Yes. Yep.
Carol fucking Danvers.
Yep. They avenge everyone, and then they aren't able to save everyone, so they have to go back. And that, but after that, that's when they obviously, Ant-Man comes back. They do a little time travel. They go on an adventure, and eventually they get everyone back in rewind time, and then they have to defeat Thanos again, but they're all together. That's like my official prediction of the
Okay.
movie. Um,
I would be into that.
yeah. But I think that's where like or I would at least like to see the We Don't Trade Lives come back into play, because they kill Thanos. They do the thing. And that's still almost like trading a life. And they don't win. They can't do it, and they have to go back and fix things throughout time. And I think that's where, I don't know how I would do it if I was in charge of writing it. Obviously, that'd be a different story. I could come up with something, but that is where I'd like to see that theme of We Don't Trade Lives come back into play when in the you know quote unquote time travel sections,
Mhm.
if that's what it actually is. So that's it. That's There you have it, straight from Caitlin.
No,
Not gonna say
I'm
my last name.
very interested in that. And I just want to say that oh god, when I was watching this, speaking of, having to fight Thanos or whatever, I say whatever as if it's not the focus of the whole movie. When, like that battle scene in Infinity War. Again, I know I said that war is right there in the title. It's gonna go hard. It is
Yep.
about fighting. But
Yeah.
like, oh, that hour-long fight scene though.
Is it really an hour long?
I don't know. It felt like it though. I just
That's
I
true.
felt like so I felt like it was so long and there's only so much of battle that I can actually handle watching. I
Yeah.
gotta hope that Endgame isn't just about physical battles, but also mental ones,
I hope
metaphysical
so.
ones if they have to be.
Yeah.
Which, like, time travel, I feel like that's a metaphysical battle, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, and there's got to be like you said, like these mental, like challenges to overcome. Like Steve and Tony still haven't reconciled. They got to do that. Um, in theory, Hawkeye probably lost his family. That's something that he'll have to grapple with Nat's help, I assume. Like there's little hints that I think you can see in
Hmm.
the. I hope they. I just hope they. I hope they focus on that. Like we all love a good battle, but it was pretty long in Infinity War. Breaking it up by
Yeah, and
character and
this
like
is
scene helps, but it was a lot.
absolutely. First of all, Disney, I need you to listen, and I need you to make Diana Gurira a Jedi. I need
Oh,
her to play a Jedi.
yes.
I
That would
need
be
it.
so good.
Give the people what they want.
Oh man.
And then my other thing is, how come Maria Hill gets to call Fury Nick?
Damn. Maybe because she's less of his like child, you know what I mean? More of a like coworker. I don't know.
I don't know, because in Captain Marvel, he's like, everyone calls me Fury. Your mom, Fury. My kids, if I had them, they call me Fury. Like, but she calls him Nick.
I think well, that's true. That's
I'm
true.
sure
Right.
I'm sure it's because this came out first and like
Yeah.
they didn't have that done, but
I'm just gonna wrap it up to character growth for Nick Fury.
okay, we can do that.
Right? Yeah. I think that's
Um,
fair.
but I just think it's really funny. I'm like, they're just that they made such a huge point of it in Captain
Yeah.
Marvel, and then like very casually, she's like, Nick, hey.
And you're like,
So
wait. And I'm
like,
pretty
hold
sure
on.
like doesn't Tony also calls him Nick, doesn't he? And
I
Pepper?
don't remember.
I think.
Maybe he
Well, I don't know. I'll have to look that up. But I'm gonna just chalk it up to character growth.
okay.
We'll
All
give
right.
you this one, Disney and Marvel.
But you don't get any others. All right. And so my last thing I have to say about Infinity War is not actually even about Infinity War. It is about the future of the MCU. And my question is just where does it go after that?
That's what I'm wondering.
Because it's called Endgame, which and it's the end of Infinity Saga, whatever they've decided to call it. Um, and so it's effectively a capstone, right? But the
Yes,
MCU
yeah.
is going to continue on after this. And my question is, the stakes were so high in this movie.
Had to
They're
go higher.
they're
Yeah.
incredibly higher. And how do you even go up from there? What is the next logical step there? Do you have to take a step back and build up again? Um,
Yeah, I would
do you
say
bring
so.
in the Celestials, which is what I want?
Yeah. I mean, they're
Um,
doing internals for sure, right?
right,
Yeah, which
right.
is similar.
I'm just very into the Celestials, and this is the thing I said I was going to talk about at the end of the episode.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just really, I'm just really intrigued by that.
Yeah.
So I think that could potentially tie into the Infinity Stones. So like even if they wanted, right? I think it does. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
they could continue in a similar vein while continuing to amp up the stakes in that way. Other than that, I'm not knowledgeable enough about the comics to know any of the rest of the possibilities.
Yeah. I know
But
people are
that's my favorite
saying,
one.
yeah. I think they're for sure. I mean, we know they're doing Eternal, so it wouldn't surprise me if they also went that more cosmic MCU route, right? Especially since I think the quantum realm also kind of lends itself to that.
Right.
Because you could do so much with it and there's so much there. Um, I think I don't know, like what I would hope for is just a lot of like how I was saying before, that one line about like, oh, he's space wizard, or no, he's from space and he wants a necklace from a wizard. Like just like stuff that you like, this is what the comic book readers want. This is what America wants. This is what the world wants, like just fun, good stories that you don't necessarily have to do the same thing. You don't need all these high stakes because like you
Yeah.
said, I think you do need to kind of take a step back a little bit. um you can't go higher than this unless you bring in the X-Men. I don't think they're going to do that right away. You know what I mean?
No, that I think that
um
would not be a great
no, they're going to have to
step.
build those
Not
guys
right
up.
now.
Yeah. So my hope is that they'll do those, like, the mini stories, kind of like you said, rebuild up the universe, without the Infinity Stones at the center, but still have that same spirit, that same, I don't know. The MCU has made me so happy for so long, and I hope that we don't lose that, is all I'm saying. I
don't
guess.
think we will. Mine's just more of like an existential question. Where are we going from here?
True, yeah. I guess we'll find out, right? Well,
yeah,
in theory, they have a bunch of plans already laid, they just can't talk about. So
right. Yeah. So
I do want to say this one last thing, I guess, before we wrap it up, kind of, is that I do hope that this movie ends with everyone happy and alive. You know what I mean? Like, so we can have more stories with these same characters. I think a lot of them do deserve a happy endings. I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode where I envision like they're all at like a barbecue together, outdoors, and they're all interacting and cracking jokes. They're just happy
bring it
for
like
once.
full circle to the shawarma scene. Yes,
exactly.
I would love that. They deserve it.
That's what I want from like the end credit scene. You know what I mean? The post credit scene. That's what I want. Whether or not we'll get that, I don't know. Probably not. That's maybe too much to ask for, but
Listen, Marvel, will avenge them if you don't.
I'm finger gunning. No one can see me, but I'm finger gunning. Okay, did you have anything else, or I can go in?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter. We have a Patreon now. You should support us. You'll get access to our episode notes and other cool stuff.
They're funny.
Yeah.
I made a Naruto reference.
I have one that just says Red Skull. Why? No other explanation. So take of that what you will.
Which is a valid question. I had one that just says Bruce voice, who the fuck is Bucky? Because he's never met Bucky, and I never thought about that.
Good point.
He's just like, who the fuck? Anyways, I want to see them interact. Yeah, anyways, like Gabby said, we're on Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, etc. at AvengeGirls on almost all of those, I believe. Yep. And now, as we say goodbye, we asked everyone who has featured on the podcast previously, or who was supposed to be featured on, but because they are busy grad students, they could not. We asked them to send us like little audio clips on their Infinity War opinions, on their opinions of who their, quote unquote character is. So for example, Eric, our friend Eric, played it. He sent us a clip that was just him talking about Hawkeye and the 3 Avengers movies. Or just something completely random, which is what Colton did.
You're gonna love it, guys. Good. It's so good.
Brad could not send us an audio recording, which is totally chill and understandable, but he did send me something to read off for you all. He said 2 different things. He said, in lieu of an audio recording, I would like to share this meme for your podcast, and I'm going to describe said meme. It says, Bruce Banner in Avengers 2012. Can't even say the Hulk in fear of losing control. Bruce Banner in Infinity War 2018. Oh, screw you, you big green asshole. And then it's a picture of a woman gesturing, and she's saying, you know what that is? Growth. And he's right. She's right. Whoever made that meme image, whatever, they're right. Like we mentioned, we love Bruce's character arc in this.
We want the best for him.
Brad also sent me, he said, it was just an opinion on Infinity War. He said, of all of the deaths, Spider-Man had me the most emotional. And if Spidey doesn't get revived, and I quote, I'm a rage. I am a rage.
Yeah. Well, considering he's the Hulk, don't make him mad, Marvel.
Oh,
don't do
God.
it. All right. And our friend Amanda sent in something. She could not send an audio clip. She just sent it to me 5 minutes ago. That's in real time. And I am going to read this. So first it's an opinion on Infinity War, and then it's a very, very specific thing, petty thing, which she acknowledges. So Amanda said, I went into Infinity War knowing I would probably cry a lot, and I fucking did because so many people died. And then I started thinking about how half of all living things were killed, which includes dogs and cats and other animals. And that's when I realized how evil Thanos is. Fuck him.
She's right.
Yes.
I thought about that too. Could you imagine if, well, actually, I'm not going to complete that sentence. I don't even want to think about animal death. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say the sentence.
All right.
Amanda, you are right.
Yes.
Sad as
And
fuck.
her second thing is, quote, also, like, I don't generally approve of snarking on people's appearance, but I just don't understand why the costume people did that to Natasha. Like, where are her eyebrows? I know she's in hiding, but honestly, the weird look just makes her stand out so much. I agree with the eyebrows.
But yeah, I like her blonde do. I think the eyebrows are a bit too like blending in with her skin, like like she said.
It's like a Matt Smith type of look or a Voldemort type of look.
Yes.
Sorry, Matt Smith,
I
but
do. I love the blonde bob though. She's rocking the blonde bob.
yeah, it's pretty good.
I understand being in hiding. Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah.
Um,
So those are Amanda's thoughts.
Perfect. So we're gonna say, Avenge Girls out and etc. right now, but right after this, I'm going to be playing. Um, let's see, who do we have on call here? We have Eric, who's going to be talking about Hawkeye. It's like 15 seconds long. He's very brief and to the point. We have my sister Kelly, who talks about, I believe, a similar theory that I have. 'Cause, we talk a lot. My brother Kyle, and then is it just Carly?
Carly.
We have Carly back. She talks, well, you'll hear it. It's good. She mentions Taika Waititi again, which God bless. And then we have poignant, is that the correct
Poignant.
pronunciation? Poignant poem read by Colton. And I don't think he's actually seen Infinity War, which is why he chose to just send us a random reading of a poem. But
But
unbeknownst to him,
if
it
he
fits.
hasn't, it fits surprisingly well.
It does
And if
fit
he
really
did,
well.
and if he has seen Infinity War and he chose this specifically, he did a fucking amazing job
Yeah.
picking this
Damn,
out.
Colton.
You are
Damn.
never going to be able to read or hear this poem without thinking about Infinity
Yeah.
War.
It
I
fucked us
promise.
up. So with that, we're done here, right? I
We're
think
done
that's
here.
it. Yep.
AvengeGirls out.
Nice.
First Avengers movie, dude with an arrow next to the superheroes. Second Avengers movie, give him a family. Third Avengers movie, doesn't even show up. It's like one step forward, two steps back. Come on.
So I'm really excited for Endgame, although I'm very nervous because I'm afraid the ending won't be satisfying, I guess, but I doubt that's the case because a lot is riding on this last movie. And it's like 3 hours long, so I assume it's going to be great. But anyways, I have a really good theory. It had to do with the video of everybody together being like, yeah, this is how it's going to happen. So yeah, they're like for 15, 20 minutes, they are like, yep, we're going to defeat Thanos, maybe get that gauntlet to save everyone. They go, the gauntlet is gross and not working. But they do defeat Thanos, and then a time jump comes and happens, and they're like not over it, but like, what else are they gonna do? But then Ant-Man's like, whoa, 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 I have a great idea. Let's do some timey-wimey shit, because that is a thing that we can do. And they do that, and they save everyone. And that's, I think, what's gonna happen. Maybe, who's to say? But yes, it'd be interesting if our theories are correct. Will be correct. I don't know. But I am excited nonetheless.
So, Avengers Endgame, I am a very strong believer that Ant-Man is going to crawl inside Thanos' asshole and expand, and that's how we win. I don't see how it could end any other way. I'm just kidding. So, ideally, I think that they're going to do some stuff with time, obviously, because of Ant-Man and whatnot, and that time zone thing. I forget what the name is. But I do think that they're going to use the gauntlet to bring everybody back or something. I think Cap is going to use it. I think it's going to kill him somehow, or somehow he's going to die. I think Tony will live because of, I think it's implied that he has a baby on the way, and he's like kind of the one that started it all, but it would be very awesome and dramatic if he died. Those are my thoughts. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Since this podcast is all about continuity, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I am least excited that Endgame is not being directed by Taika Waititi. However, I guess I am most excited about Brie Larson fucking shit up. To be honest, I did not actually finish Infinity War. I watched it on a plane, and I got to just before everyone is dust, so I'm not even sure who's dust at this point. We'll find out.
Hello. This is Colton. I don't really, I don't know anything about what this movie is or anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So instead, I am going to submit a reading of the poem Good Bones by Maggie Smith, a contemporary poet. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways that I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. And for every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible, and for every kind stranger there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I'm trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. And that was Good Bones by Maggie Smith.